How's it going today, everybody? Robin here with AriesFireTarot. I hope you're all doing great today. Thanks for joining me. So I just wanted to continue on with the series I'm doing on being mindful of what you think and using a Zen routine. So what I wanted to talk about today is staying positive. I had done I think it was the Aries general reading a couple weeks ago, and I said you have to sort of stay outside your thoughts sometimes, and somebody questioned me on that, on how to do that, and I said meditation, right? Because then you can really become aware of how to choose your own thoughts. So I thought maybe doing a video on how to stay positive and some techniques would be really helpful to you guys out there. And if I miss something that you're doing, share it with the community, put it in the comments so we can all see what's going on, what other people use. So the number one thing that I use for myself is to use affirmations. Generally, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is put on affirmations of some kind about how my day is going to be, positive thinking affirmations. I like to listen to things that start with I am, I have, I will, I choose, what if. Justin from You Are Creators is really good about stuff like that. He completely changed his life using the power of positive thinking and affirmations. Power Thoughts Meditation Club. Jason Stevenson has a range, but it's generally more towards sleep meditation, which is also another way of, like a great way of getting these thoughts into your head. Power, like affirmations, positive thoughts. And that's a really optimal time because your brain is still active while you're sleeping, but it's the subconscious mind. And there's no conflict, like where your active awake mind is deflecting things for the most part. Your subconscious mind is ready and willing to listen while you're sleeping. So that's a really great time to do that. So Jason Stevenson is a really good one, like I said before. And I like Jason Stevenson, and everybody I listen to, it's because I like the sound of their voice. If you get somebody, like for these affirmations and guided meditations that you might be doing, if you get somebody whose voice you don't really like, it's just going to grate on your nerves and you're not going to listen to it. So find somebody whose voice you find really soothing and compatible, and just listen to the affirmations while you're making your coffee, having your shower, or doing whatever, like walking your dog, getting ready in the morning. And then again in the evening, I do a wake up and I do a wind down, listening to positive affirmations. I find that some days are a little bit harder than others, depending on how much stress I'm having in my day, and I'll have to listen to them periodically throughout the day just to keep myself calm, right? Because I'm an overthinker and I tend to be on a hamster wheel inside my own head. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to stuff like that and what works for me anyway. So meditation, it is another great way, you guys, and it's the same principle, except this time you get to actually choose your own thoughts while you're meditating, because your brain never stops. Thoughts are always coming in across, and you can just kind of watch them go. You don't have to attach yourself to them. You can start really selective thinking by practicing meditation. There's also some really good guided meditations. Again, I like the same type of genre here. I like the same hosts or the guides because I like their voice. I'm not going to sit through a meditation where I just don't, if somebody's voice is irritating me, I'm just going to shut it off and probably storm off because I'm an Aries. But Holo Vibes is another really good one, but he's kind of on another level about communicating with source and your own energy as it's connected to the earth. So really deep, but really powerful. So the next thing I have on my list is to avoid the news. It's all bad news, and some of it's not real news. I think we've heard quite a bit lately on the subject of fake news. And just in case some of you don't know, Fox News is labeled as entertainment in Canada. They're not labeled this way in the States. They're labeled that way in Canada because it's not entirely based in the truth. It could be based in the truth, but it just really worked up to gain ratings. So be careful what you watch and be careful what you read. Be careful what you listen to. If you're a TV watcher, I would really be careful about the level of violence you watch, because we have, as a human race, normalized violence in our society, and it's because of what we put our eyes on and what we ingest mentally. So that can be some people are really all about the news and they want to watch the news, but maybe observe how you feel and the way you think, and if you're getting angry, because that's not a desired response in my life anyway. So let me know if you share that one or not. The next one I have is to keep your circle selective. If somebody is having a really negative impact on you, if they're always demanding or humiliating you or just being a really negative force on your life, you may wish to consider limiting that person's access to you or denying it altogether. Sometimes it's family, and depending on who you are, some people place more of an obligation on family than others. I think that I deserve to be respected by everybody that I allow in my life. So, you can make your own call there, but nobody has the right to pick up a phone or come to visit you in person or write you a nasty letter and kind of dress you down and say negative things about you. If it's going on for a long time, you might want to think about what you're going to do for yourself in the future, because we tend to believe what other people say about us, especially if it is somebody that has been close to you for all or most of your life. And just remember this too, guys, that just because somebody says something about you doesn't make it true. You don't have to believe them, okay? So I think that's a really good one. Really start to cultivate positive people into your life and watch positive things and read positive things. So I have another key one here that is stop gossiping. And I think it was in the movie Steel Magnolias. I think it was Olivia de Havilland, but I might have it wrong. She was like, if you don't have anything nice to say about people, you can come sit beside me. And while that's hilarious, and gossiping can be, can be entertaining a little bit, but you're speaking, during that gossiping, it's not usually flattering stuff. So we're speaking negative things about people, and keeping in mind that life is a circle, and the energy we exude is the energy we can expect back. Just be really mindful of that. If you wouldn't like somebody sitting and gossiping about you, then, kind of take that perspective on gossiping. There is a fine line between discussing somebody, and it depends on the situation, and outright gossiping about somebody just to bash them. So that's a tricky one, and use your own discernment on that one. I have exercise. Exercise really gets your blood pumping in a good way. Taking care of your body, it can really have multiple effects, because when you exercise, you probably tend to feel better and look better to a certain degree, a certain level of fitness. I know some people, they'll probably, just because of the way their body is built and, certain health ailments. I have hypothyroid, so I had to come to grips with the fact that I was never going to be as thin as I wanted to be, and I'm never going to be as cut as I want to be, but I've made my peace with that because this is my body and I want to love it. With that being said, I do walk quite a bit. I have a dog and I walk her probably, depending on the weather, 6 to 8 kilometers a day. I do the yoga. I gave up running because, I had a painful bunion, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? And you can do things like dancing. It'll help lift your vibration. You'll feel a lot better. And if you start to look better, that's a bonus too. But the flip side of that is you just shouldn't beat up your body, because this is your body. It's the only one you have. So you have to learn to love it regardless of what you look like. A healthy diet. this is kind of key. You know, you're going to get out of your body what you put into it. So if you're eating garbage, you're probably going to feel like garbage. And I think that a lot of people don't realize what their food intake is doing to them really until they switch to a bit of a healthier diet. Like, I have a pretty clean diet. You know, I have my cheat days and whatever, and one of my favorite treats is chips. I just love chips, but anytime I never stop, like I buy a big bag and I eat the whole thing. I try to pretend that I'm going to put it back in the cupboard and, you know, I'll have some next week, but it never happens that way. I just have to like inhale the whole bag. And then the next day I'm like, oh, I just feel awful. You know, so if you're eating kind of an unhealthy diet, that's going to reflect out in how you feel physically and likely mentally. There's some foods that can give a certain level of brain fog. Like I cut out coffee because it was having this really weird effect on my brain. I'd have this like 2 p.m., 3 p.m. slump, and then I cut out coffee and I substituted it with a different kind of like a chicory coffee. And I don't get that anymore. So you have to maybe experiment with how much caffeine you're putting in your body or just whatever, you know, and there's tons of research out there online, you guys, and you could be allergic to things. You might not even be aware of it. So just a little tip there too, if you're feeling sluggish and not very positive, and sometimes the way we think can be affected to gut health. So just a little tip on that one. Having hobbies. So, you know, I love this one. I like to crochet, especially in the winter, because I live in Manitoba and it's a deep freeze. So I don't even really get the pleasure of sitting out in my backyard or whatever. So, and it's important to keep my hands busy, or otherwise I'll go grab that bag of chips that I was just talking about. So I like to crochet. You know, I used to do needlepoint a little bit, but my eyes aren't that great anymore. So I stopped doing that. But like I made a blanket this winter and it's really cool. And I just like to do stuff like that. And then, you know, reading or whatever, just something to keep your mind busy and your hands busy. And then the last thing on my list is to help others, because while we're helping others, we're actually helping ourselves to feel good about ourselves. You know, even something as small as holding the door open for somebody, you know, and just to see their face light up, even smiling at somebody and asking them how their day is going, that's helping others. Like, what if you're the only person in that person's life that day? You know, somebody could have a really crappy day, but then you smiled at them and said, hey, how are you today? And they just they lit up, and that was the best thing about their day. You never know what is going on in somebody else's life, right? I really like this, especially for the elderly. We have a lot of senior citizens on the planet right now, and we should be helping them. I read this blog post the other day about somebody was, you know, watching how people in a crowd were ignoring this really struggling elderly person that fell down and nobody jumped up to help them. So she jumped up and ran across the restaurant and helped them up and took care of their scraped knee. I mean, be that person that helps other people. I'll just give you another sort of random example. Like, I share a lot of lost dog alerts on my Facebook feed, like my personal feed. And if I see a dog running by and it's by itself, I'm going to go get the dog, you know, and I'll return it to its owner, you know, because the dog doesn't know what it's doing outside by itself. It's having fun, but it could run into traffic. And then you have this really concerned family that they somehow lost their dog. So I try to help others in need, like regardless of their species, right? So, and I'm not doing it for myself, but the result is I do feel good when I do a good deed. And helping others could be donating time, donating money if you can afford it. I know a lot of people strive to donate a certain amount of their salary. I'll donate items that I don't use anymore to, you know, a secondhand shop or to a cause that is having a yard sale. I'll just do whatever I think I can put into either my budget or accommodate in my heart to help other people. And then that just keeps on paying forward. So I think that those are really great examples on how to stay positive, keep yourself uplifted. These are things I tried to practice on a daily basis. It's made an amazing change in the past 4 or 5 years of my life. I used to, like I said, have a really negative mindset. Everything was negative. I would just always see the worst in everything, and I couldn't stand it. I was like, oh, what's going on in my head? You know, it was driving me crazy. And then I just started following like certain yogis on YouTube and listening to positive things, and it was a bit of a slow turn, but it's changed my life, you guys. So I really hope this was an interesting and useful video for you guys. Thanks once again for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys all so much. So take care. Bye for now. Bye.